Working from home sounds so good from the outside. From the outside, it looks like, you can start any time. You can work in your pajamas. Got nobody looking over your shoulder. They get total freedom, long lunch, a few beers in the fridge, dream come true. However, if you try to actually achieve anything, you realize working from home is a lot harder than it sounds. There are so many distractions, whether it be family members popping in, having IT problems, the dogs next door is noisy when you're trying to do a sales call. It's like the beers are in the fridge. You're not sure when you're working, what time you're knocking off. You don't have the same synergy and the buzz from the office, so you feel quite isolated. It's a real skill. So I want to give you a crash course, like working from home 101. And the first rule is contrast. If you think about a swimming pool, if you say to a little kid, what's that? And you point to swimming pool, they say it's a swimming pool. So you take the water out and say, what's that? And the kid says, it's a swimming pool. But there's no water. Yeah, but it's empty. So you put the water back and you take the pool away. And you say to the kid, what's that? And they say, wet. That's right. Because it's the boundaries that actually create the swimming pool, not the water. But when there's boundaries, there's somewhere to sunbake and somewhere to swim. And when you step into working from home, one of the easiest mistakes is to get rid of all the boundaries. People don't know when you're actually trying to concentrate and when you're just having a cup of tea talking to the family. You don't know when you started. You don't know when you're finished. You're not sure when other people at work are working on things. You're not sure what your boss expects of you. You haven't sort of traveled to work and you haven't sort of traveled away from work. All the boundaries are shot and the chance of you being highly productive is really unlikely. So here's the way we think about it. Think about yourself like an athlete. When an athlete works, they get themselves in a zone. They're very good at it. They've got a routine. They get up, they get dressed, they pack their bags, they transition to the game. They have breaks. They have a little coaching session with the team beforehand. They get in game day. It's intense. They cool down. They transition back. You are the same. You've been doing that your whole life. You've been waking up in the morning, putting on your uniform. You've been transitioning to work. You get there, you warm up with a cup of tea, a bit of a chat, a bit of talk about sport, maybe a whip meeting to get started, and then you get into the intensity of it. But there's a break coming, and then there's a halftime, which is lunch, and then there's another break. And towards the end, we wind down, bit of a cool down before we transition home. That's the structure. They're the boundaries like the pool. That's what you continue to need. So you need to put those in place. Now, this might seem a little bit anal. It may not be your style, but my guidance would be to write down a structure that works for you. And that is, you still want to wake up in the morning and put on work clothes. You still want to have something that you wouldn't be wearing on the weekend. It'll change your mindset. And you might think, I don't really need to do that. But my tip would be stick to like the real structure you've had for a long time before you start putting a load of washing on the middle of the day, sleep, working in your pajamas. Just start with a structure and nail that before you try all these other fancy things. So that would be, what are you going to wear? Whether it doesn't have to be the same thing as work, but some work clothes. And then how do you normally transition? If you've got a 40-minute commute or a 20-minute commute, you might not do the same duration, but you'll do a similar activity. So if you just sort of chill out and sleep on the train, or if you listen to a podcast, or you read a book, or you listen to your favorite radio station just as you're driving in, it's okay to do that. That's an important part of your ritual and process of going to work. And then when you start and get to work, you warm up, you have a cup of coffee, you talk to some friends. It might be time to flick the kettle on, text someone, say, hey, I'm going to call you in 5 minutes, are you around? And you can still have that banter. And then when you start to work intensely, that's when you need to make sure that there are no distractions, that everybody in your family knows your schedule, that we're not answering the phone. We're not probably going to, if we hear somebody chatting, we're not going to scream out an answer to a question. We're going to let everyone know, listen, I'm working up till 10:30, then I'm having a break. Then I'm working from like 11 through to 12:30, then I'm taking a break, and they're the best times to talk to me. We're going to keep doing that, and even transitioning when you finish the day. You might get to 5, and truthfully, you might find you're a bit more productive on some things at home. You might find you're going to knock off at 4 o'clock, and that's completely fine, whatever your length of time is. But you still want to transition because work's got a different intensity than home has, and that transition's important. And that might be you're knocking off work and then just doing a quick walk around the block. It might be that you've got a little gym outside, so you just go and do 20 push-ups. It might be that you read a book to change your mood, to change your zone. You still want to transition, so whatever's natural for you. So my guidance would be to actually write this down and give it to the people in your family that are going to be around during work days, and also to your boss. And we're going to try to see if this works for 2 or 3 days, maybe a week. We don't expect it to work. It'll probably fail. because there's some variables that you haven't anticipated yet. Also with this, it's really important that loved ones, especially the kids, need to know when mummy or daddy is working and when they're taking a break. Because if we're just sitting here like this, they've seen you sit like this before at the kitchen table and they can't tell the difference and they can interrupt you and then they can get in trouble, but they had no way of knowing. So a great tool is to get some sort of trophy or statue or something random and put it out and say, kids and partner, whoever, when this is out, I'm working intensely and it'll be awesome if you didn't interrupt me then. And then when I'm not working, I'll put it away and then I'm totally available to hang out with you guys. Those distinctions are really important. I know for me, for years working from home, I've consistently, anytime I've been out for a coffee with someone, it'll be a work day and I'll say, listen, I've got my phone on because although it's like we're hanging out, it's actually work hours for me. So if the phone rings, I'm going to answer it. So that's the starting point. The second part would be, sometimes we're not used to how do we measure our productivity or how do we stay focused. At work, there's usually a buzz. There's people going around. There's some accountability. If I don't feel like it, there's sort of this urge from everybody to keep the ball moving. Well, that's going to slacken off a little bit. So the way you would handle that is you would start to set some small goals for the day or maybe 2 or 3 days max, but typically daily, and you would communicate them with your boss. A target. This is what I think I can definitively get done. This is the minimum I'm going to get done today. A stretch, this is if things are going well, I'm going for this, and a super stretch. If things are going real well, I'm going to chase down this, I'm going to get this done. We don't want to be too ambient about this. We don't want to say, today I'm going to work on the Smith project, and if that goes well, I'm eventually going to work on the Jones project. Now we want definitive. I'm going to have that proposal ready for the Smith, and it will be emailed by 4 o'clock today. So that's quite definitive. Some people aren't used to this level of accountability, but if you want the drive from home, you're still going to need to have some micro targets, things you're aiming at. You're not going to get in trouble if you don't do it, but we want to start to get to a point when you can realistically anticipate what you can get done from home. Okay, so 101 is set your structure, tell a few people about it, including your boss and loved ones, and 3, have some micro targets for the day. There are some other videos in the series looking at how do you keep your motivation up, how do you cope with the isolation? How do you still feel like you've got your finger on the pulse? How do you handle sales calls if you've got to do it from a desk or Skype when you've never done it that way before? There are a whole lot of challenges working from home. This is Working From Home 101. If you want the rest of the series, they're probably on this platform. And if they're not, just shoot me a line and I will send them all to you. Okay, good luck guys. Go and smash it.